Right, exciting times. This is a pig that comes in here very often, very regular customer here at Mr. Landcruiser. We've done heaps of it over the years. It's in for a bit of mechanical, and also the customer wants suspension looked at, right? So there is no 55 kit on the shelf. You have to make it up out of different vehicles. And thanks to Andrew Ruler down in Tassie, and with the help of IHA Mud, the forum, there's already formulas there. Some people use 75 series front and rear, but I'm going to be using 60 series in the front and 75 series in the back. And we're also going to be fitting parabolics to this pig behind us today, which is very cool. So we're going to come up with the formula, and we're going to walk you through how to do it. The rear shackle mounts need to be moved back about between 100 and 125 mil. I haven't quite worked out which one yet. We'll do it when we get there, but we'll show you how to remove those, move them. We'll probably give them a little tacker weld as well, just to be sure that they're not going to move. But yeah, this thing, the pig behind us, it's been suffering for a while. It's sagging. There's not much space between the wheel and the archway, so we want to get the stance back on this beast behind us. And anyway, let's get into it. I've already started the front leaf here because I wanted to make sure that the sort of proof of concept that this was going to work. So I was worried about the military wraps actually touching the chassis. So before I started the video, I wanted to make sure that this was actually going to work, and pretty confident now. So let's get into it. All right, so basically the first thing I came across, removed the old spring. I've got the new pin in there, and the first thing I noticed was that the bushes, there's a certain combination of bush that you need to use with these pins and the eyes on these parabolics 60 series fronts, right? So that's too wide for the perch on the chassis. So what we have to do is we have to just machine down the pot about halfway in order to allow those bushes to just slot up inside there. I bent these just slightly, just to make sure it goes in there easier. Then when you do them up, it pulls it and squeezes it in nice. And then, yeah, lots of grease as well. So this is going to be awesome. It goes up there nice, and it's literally, the 60 series spring is exactly the same. We looked in the spring book, and the distance between the eyes and the pin in the center that bolts to the axle is exactly the same. So that's why I went for the 60 series spring instead of the 75 series. Anyway, let's get into it. Can't wait to see the stance and how this thing sits on the front with both these springs in. Right, I'm really pleased with how that went actually. These 60 series springs fit perfectly. Just as long as you get the right combination of bushes for your shackles and the right bushes for your pins. Like I said, the bushes will need linishing or machining down just so they fit up inside there, because the 55 is a narrower perch there. So, but that's easy, man, easy as. This thing's gone on perfect. I've put some caster wedges in here because there is a lift in it. So what I've had to do is just reverse the pin in here, and what we're going to do afterwards, once we've got this thing on the level ground, if it is a little bit wonky, which it might be because we're using 60 series springs and 75 series springs, you can actually move these packers here that are on the top of these springs below, and that will just give you a little bit more. You'll be able to raise it just a little bit more, just to sort of even it out, balance it out. But we don't know what it's going to be like until we get to the end. So super happy, super easy up the front. We've now got to get to the rear where we've got to start removing shackle mounts. So it's going to be a bit more technical on the rear, and we've even got a brand new steering dampener on there already. Have a go at that. Come on, let's go. I'm going to be whipping these spring plates off now. We'll get this spare tyre down, get the springs off, and we'll start drilling out these rear perches. I've seen on I Hate Mud that there's some people say you've got to move it back 100 mil, some people say 125 mil. I'm going to gauge it and do some measurements and stuff like that and see how far we're going to move it back. But I think, yeah, between 100 and 125 mil should do it. All right, let's get this spare wheel down. Start my favourite job of drilling out rivets. Okay, so we've drilled out the rivets on the rear hanger. The rear hanger should look like that. It's also got a spreader plate on the inside of the chassis, which you'll need to retain as well. And we'll put this all back together as if it was factory, just 125 millimeter further backwards. Now I've gone with 125 millimeters because we've got the spring in here now, and we held it up against the original position and measured where it would be ideal. So 125 mil it is, and Toyota have kindly put a little hole exactly 125 millimeters further back from where the hanger is, so I can use that as my guide. The hole is going to be a little bit lower than that we're going to drill. I'm going to drill this one first through this way, and that will give us the guide to drill up through the chassis. Now I'm going to be using some high tensile cap head bolts with cone lock nuts, but as well as that, because it's not as strong as factory rivets, I'm also going to be running a bead of weld along the front and rear, and maybe just up and down here as well, just so it's solid on there and we don't have to worry about the future peace of mind. So we'll get this all cleaned up, we'll start drilling these new holes out for the new position for the spring hanger. Awesome. Right, so we've got the hanger off. I've actually done the other side. I wanted to get the other side done first, just so I didn't look stupid if anything went wrong, but that side's done. Super happy with it. We've removed the original hanger here, and there's a sort of spacer plate reinforcer behind it on the inner part of the chassis as well, so that's off. We've moved it back 125 mil, re-drilled the holes. I've cleaned up that whole area on the chassis there, because I'm probably going to put, or I have done on the other side, a couple of tacks, because we're using these high tensile button heads to sort of mimic rivets, but they're the strongest bolt you can buy. They're also M12, and then I've gone for these, or always go for these cone lock nuts, which are nailed over at the end. So once they're done up, they're really hard to undo. So you can always do them up more, but they're much better, I think, than nylox or anything like that. So I always use them when I'm replacing chassis components. So what we do, we're going to get up there, we'll bolt it on with some with these bolts quickly, just to get it in place. Then we'll gun it on with the gun, get it really tight and torque those bolts up, and then I'll just get the welder and just run a couple of little beads just to stop this thing from ever moving around again. So it's just peace of mind, really. So we'll get this through here, start that one off. If I get that bloody thing the right way around, it'll be all right, won't it? Make sure we got our reinforcer behind there as well. Should go in there nicely. Don't do it fully up, just leave it so it's loose so we can get these next ones in. So I've drilled those holes just about the same size as the bolts, so I want it to be as tight as possible in the bolt so it doesn't move around, and it's as tight as you like. Yeah, pretty happy. So we can get those nylocks started. See, these nylocks do up really tight. You haven't got to worry about them ever coming undone again. They're great. They're a little bit more expensive, but you know, the peace of mind it gives you, definitely worth it. Cool, we'll get the welder set up. Gonna run 2 beads just under here and a couple up here, and that'll do it. I'll paint it black and we'll be able to install this last parabolic spring. Paka. Right, we're all done. The 75 series parabolic springs are fitted to the rear of this pig, this 55. We've moved the shackle hangers 125mm back. Very pleased with how this has gone, hey, and it sits perfect. I've had to mess around with the packers above and below the front and rear springs just to get this thing to sit nice with the you know, the gaps between the wheel and the archway, sort of similar. So there was a bit of messing around to do there, but all in all, it's really simple to get it right, man. Now, the shockies. Up the front, we've got 60 series front shocks. They give you heaps of travel. And at the rear, we've got 60 series rear shock absorbers, and they're loads of travel up and down, man. So what I was able to do here at Mr. Landcruiser, we've got heaps of stock here, suspension stock shock absorbers. I was able to get the shocks and actually lay them out on the bench and see which ones are going to be the best. So the steering dampener is the same as a 40 series, so that's nice and easy as well. So this thing has got terrain tamer, basically a terrain tamer parabolic kit right through this vehicle, with the exception of the springs being different. So look guys, if you want more information about this kit that's on this 55, give the guys here at Mr. Landcruiser a call, and they'll be able to walk you through the parts you need, and you'll be able to order them through Mr. Landcruiser. Anyway, without any further ado, I reckon we should take this pig for a drive and see how this parabolic suspension matches up to the conditions on the roads here in southeast Queensland. Let's go. Right, so we found some, we've come down the road a bit from work, found a bit of bitumen here, but I know there's some nice little tracks off of here that we can really test the suspension. But literally, first impressions, I'm really pleased with it. Look, it's still a leaf sprung car, but the parabolic suspension just gives you that little bit more give in the suspension, so it's not quite so hard in your bones. But also, definitely what helps with this setup is the fact that we're using such large bushes. There's a lot of rubber between the pins and the leaf springs themselves. Now, you could probably benefit from having some adjustable shock absorbers or something to really, really dial in the shock absorber side of things, but because we want to come up at Mr. Landcruiser with a kit off the shelf, these 60 series are the closest thing you're going to get with regards to the weight, the wagon, you know, the distribution and that kind of stuff. I think that, and it really feels like the shockies are working well. We're going to go up here, we're going to find there's a little side track off of here through the bush. We can really see what it's like on the off-road. Overall, very, very impressed, man. I'd like to big shout out to Andrew Ruler for helping us, guiding us where to find the information. I'm not inventing the world here. I'm not inventing the wheel here, right? Other guys have done this on the forums, on the 55 forum. I Hate Mud have been a great source of information about this. But I'm definitely this is the kit Mr. Landcruiser is putting together now. So if anybody's interested, this will be an off-the-shelf kit. 75 series rear springs, parabolics, 60 series front parabolics, 60 series shock absorbers all round, and the 40 series style steering dampener. I'm very impressed. Let's get back to the workshop and have a bit of a shakedown rundown. Right, I'm over the moon with the suspension on this 55. It's lifted it about 2 inches all round. We've had to mess around with the packers just to get it sitting like it is now, but I'm really stoked with how it sits. If you're interested in this suspension kit with the 55, give the boys here at Mr. Landcruiser a ring, and they'll take you right through it and what you need to do, or you can even have a word with me if you're going to buy a kit. And if you want to see a full walk around on this 55 you see behind me, we'll put a link in the description and you can go and check that out. It's an awesome walk around, see this iron pig for all of its glory. Hope you enjoyed the installation of this suspension kit on this pig behind me. What a bloody beauty.